want me to put that on my tudger?
Harry's wife. No me, no children. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. As I've explained to you, information is sent my way from my many viewers asking me to perhaps make a video on this point. Sometimes it's a subject, sometimes I'm sent an article, sometimes I'm sent a video, sometimes I'm sent information that's been put out there by other people. And invariably, I leave it for you to determine the veracity of the information. I provide you with the analysis vis-a-vis narcissism. A piece of information that's appeared on the Reddit forum of St. Harry's wife, they use her full name, as you know, I don't call her by that, and it was posted by Lillian Rick, states, Harold's wife won't let him take the children to London, and apparently it references information from Neil Sean, for it is he, stating that apparently Harold was more than keen to bring his children to London with him for the coronation, but apparently Harry's wife said, no me, no children. Apparently that she could have gone and stayed under the radar, but she decided against this, and apparently Harold was rather upset about the fact that this was the decision that she had come to. Now, Mr. Sean may indeed be accurate with this information. I leave it for you to make that determination. But let's proceed on the basis of looking at whether it could be accurate. Is this the way that Harry's wife could behave? Would she issue such an ultimatum? Now, ordinarily, where you have husband and wife, who neither of whom are narcissists, they would look to do a family event, such as a birthday party, Aunt Edie's 70th birthday, a christening, a wedding, and, of course, coronation, where those that would be invited to them would do it together. Namely, we go and we take our family. Even in instances of perhaps there being thinking, oh, it's a bit of a hike to go there. Well, we really ought to, because, of course, coronation's a once-in-a-lifetime event for the person that's being crowned. And so both parties would decide, yeah, it's your dad, he's getting crowned, we've got to go, naturally, and we'll be there and we'll support him. That is the emotional empathy that would be exhibited. But remember, here, Harry's wife is a narcissist. And her decision-making process isn't governed by a sense of obligation and duty. It isn't governed by a sense of fairness and kindness, although she thinks it is. It isn't governed by a sense of doing the right thing, of decency, of being guided by an appropriate moral compass. It is, of course, guided by her narcissism, or what it sees is best to do. And therefore, immediate position for her is, hostility. Her narcissism perceives press will be hostile, British public will be hostile, members of the royal family will be hostile. Okay, so we've got to tell the mistress, not a good idea for you to go. Fair enough, she doesn't go. So she could, for instance, say, well, I don't think it's a good idea if I go. You know what the press are like. They'll just end up talking about me rather than it being about your dad's day. Why don't you go? And why don't you take the children as well? Because your dad would be thrilled to see his grandchildren. And I'll stay here and I'll work on the TIG. I'll pop round and press my nose up against Gwyneth Paltrow's window and see if I can steal some ideas if she's left her laptop open. Well, she isn't going to do that either. Because the fact is that the way that her narcissism functions is very much a case of, I'm not going, therefore I don't want you to go. Because that means that I'm not able to control you. And therefore, it's only under duress, in effect, that she's allowing him to go. And of course, he may well have said, well, I'd like the children to come as well. It'd be a lovely trip for them, and of course, Nanny would come with us, and they would get to see members of the family who they don't see very often. Now, ordinarily, someone who's got emotional empathy, who lives on another side of the world, will say, well, of course Of course they must see them. They don't get to do so very regularly, but not Harry's wife, of course. She doesn't care about that. She only cares about the prime aims, although she doesn't realise that. And so her narcissism causes her to stamp one of those cloven hooves and say, if I'm not invited, the kids aren't coming. She doesn't care that upsets Harry because she doesn't give a rat's ass about how he actually feels, although she pretends to the contrary. She doesn't give a flying fuck about the step-grandmother and grandfather being able to see their grandchildren. She doesn't give a monkey's ass about uncles and aunts being able to see the nephews and nieces. It's all about her. And accordingly, I see it as entirely likely, as Mr. Sean has reported, based upon her narcissism, not based upon necessarily any evidence in terms of what actually occurred, but simply as a proposition, would a narcissist like Harry's wife behave in this way? The answer is absolutely. Ally that to the leaked disclosure that Mr. Sean has got, and we have a very likely instance of where Harry's wife has turned round and said, no me, no children. She does this to upset Harry, to assert control over him and prompt a reaction from him which provides fuel. She does it to spite the royal family, which is basically, they've created a situation where I can't go. Notice she doesn't recognise that she's created the situation. She doesn't realise that she's the one that has been the troublemaker. She doesn't realise that she is the individual that has caused so many people to turn against her, for members of the royal family to not want to have anything to do with her. Her narcissism edits the film and makes it so that they're being mean to her first, based upon no reason whatsoever. And therefore, she feels hard done to, maintains that ever-present victim narrative, and then lashes out by saying, they've been mean to me. They've made the British public hate me. They've caused the press to turn against me. And when we were there last year, Harold, nobody really spoke to me. So why the dickens should I turn up and have myself subjected to all of that? In actual fact, if you were any kind of husband, ginger bollocks, you wouldn't go. You would be on my side. And of course, many of you who have been involved with narcissists will recognise this caught between a rock and a hard place of a narcissist spouse being unreasonable, and you know they're being unreasonable, but feeling that you have to be loyal to them and ostracising your own family. Harry's done this repeatedly. That's why he's ended up living in California. That's why he has such little to do with his brother and his father, etc. But even in this instance, she wouldn't give him a pass and say, well, you know, it's your dad's coronation. You need to go. You have a good time. Enjoy yourself. You know, if you can get back for Archie's party, so much the better, but don't worry about it. Oh, no. She'll be making him feel guilty for going in the first place, potentially dropping the narc bomb. She'll be each and every day needling him about it. Oh, that's right. You've decided to go off and see your dad and be with that family that hate us and caused us so many problems. Yeah, thanks for your loyalty, Harold. Oh, you'd rather piss off back to rainy old United Kingdom rather than stay here for your son's birthday. You better make sure that you get your ginger hide back here, PDQ, or there'll be hell to play. So poor old Harold has found himself in a situation of misery as a consequence of the way that she will treat him. And it's entirely conceivable that she will have responded by stating, well, if I can't go, you're not taking the kids, further upsetting him and being done, of course, despite the other members of the royal family. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.